This is Matthew Cratter from Trade University, and today I want to answer the question which a lot of you asked, is Algorand the next Bitcoin? If you take a look at their homepage, it's actually quite impressive. Block times of just 3.7 seconds compared to Bitcoin's one block every 10 minutes. Extremely low transaction fees, just a small fraction of a penny, and it says the world's most powerful and sustainable blockchain. Our institutional grade blockchain infrastructure is the first and only to achieve decentralization, scalability, and security without compromises and while being environmentally sustainable. This is absolutely amazing. It's fast, it's decentralized, it's secure, it's scalable, it's environmentally sustainable. This must be the perfect crypto. It certainly ticks all of the crypto marketing boxes when you look at the homepage. There is a small red flag though. The website does not mention any trade-offs. And this is always a sign you can see from altcoin promoters, is that they will never talk about the trade-offs. They'll just talk about why their particular cryptocurrency is better than Bitcoin, but they won't talk about what it gives up in the process of doing something better than Bitcoin. And in engineering, in financial engineering, in all kinds of engineering, there are always trade-offs, and anyone who doesn't point these out is being intellectually disingenuous. Things that are more decentralized are usually slower than something that runs on a centralized database. You need time to allow blocks to propagate globally and be checked by all the nodes and verified, and this is one reason that Bitcoin block times are set at around 10 minutes. And yet Algorand has block times of 3.6 seconds, 3.7 seconds. So maybe it's not as decentralized as they say. This is what we're going to be investigating. Let's suggest that if it has venture capital backers, that suggests that there's some centralized venture that's being invested in, quite unlike Bitcoin, which never had VC backers. And if we take a look, Algorand is on Crunchbase, and there was a venture round in August of 2020. There also appears to be, proof of stake. Algorand intends to eventually leverage its pure proof of stake, they have this marketing term, designed to form the foundation for an on-chain governance system. So not only do they have a website, not only do they have VC backers, not only are they on proof of stake, but they also have a roadmap. It's strange because having a roadmap or someone in control of its development path, that's odd, and that suggests that this money might not be as decentralized as we would expect. When we dig a little bit deeper, we find out that Algorand actually has a headquarters, which is in Boston. It has 51 local employees, 70 total employees, quite unlike Bitcoin, which is not a corporation that is located somewhere. It even has a year of that it was founded in 2018. This reminds me a lot of the Gary Gensler, who's the head of the SEC in the US. This interview we talked about a couple days ago, where Gensler talked about how and this is the quote from him, everything other than Bitcoin, you can find a website, you can find a group of entrepreneurs. They might have set up their legal entities in a tax haven offshore. They might have a foundation, and they might lawyer it up to try to arbitrage and make it hard jurisdictionally or so forth. Now, Algorand's not really trying to do this since they're in Boston, but they do have the same structure. They've got the Algorand Foundation, which of course is in Singapore, a very neutral place that's a little harder for the US government to reach its fingers. And then you have Algorand itself in Boston, and it's a little bit unclear the relationship between the foundation and the corporation, but it is clear that the foundation was funded by selling tokens, and this is something that's a little bit weird. And this is the article that really caught my attention yesterday and made me decide to finally make this video about Algorand. You would never see something like this with Bitcoin. Layer 1 blockchain protocol, Algorand hires its first CFO. Here's a hint: if your cryptocurrency has a CFO, and if they actively hire a CFO, that means it's an unregistered security. This is extremely, extremely clear. It has a management team here, and it has the expectation of profits, obviously. If you're enjoying this video so far, please like and subscribe to help support this channel. I should go back and say it has the expectation of profits because it is venture capital backers, and venture capitalists don't give a corporation money because it's a gift, for example. So here are the questions for the new CFO. How many ALGO tokens did you get awarded as part of joining the company? How many ALGO tokens does the whole executive team own? How many do the venture capital investors, the VC investors, own? This is kind of important because under proof of stake, the more coins you own, the more control you have over the protocol and block production. By contrast, proof of work coins like Bitcoin are very different. Owning more Bitcoin does not give you any additional control over the protocol because it's proof of work. When we look into it, Algorand also had 100% Premine or premint. They preminted 10 billion ALGO tokens, and then they distributed them to the ecosystem, to the foundation, etc. And this is how they funded themselves. And this is a not so transparent way of basically selling, raising capital with unregistered securities, and then hiring a management team, having a roadmap, having a CEO and a CFO, etc. So Algorand is obviously a software company masquerading as decentralized money. Just because it says decentralized on your website, and the fact that you even have a website in a corporation shows you that you're not decentralized, especially if you're using proof of stake. This is the real problem. Algorand has obviously funded itself, selling unregistered securities as well. It's extremely easy for the US government to go to Boston and shut it down, or to bully the block validator, since this is proof of stake, into censoring or not including transactions. Turns out Algorand is also quite buggy when you look at it. They can't seem to figure out really basic things like how to secure a wallet. Even though they have all these employees, they just had a hack a couple days ago that drained almost $10 million from crypto investor wallets. And this was drained from MyAlgo, which is the native wallet provider for Algorand. I believe it's developed by the same company. So they can't even make a secure wallet. Here's the objection I'll hear, though, at this point. Because there are a lot of people that believe that the El Salvador Bitcoin wallet, Chivo, runs or is built on Algorand. You'll see this on Twitter all the time. Fun fact, El Salvador's official Bitcoin wallet, Chivo, runs on Algorand. This is very difficult to ascertain whether this is true or not, and most of the articles online refer to one another. Here is an article actually from the Algorand website. El Salvador signs a cooperation agreement with Koi Banks to develop the government's blockchain infrastructure on Algorand, and this was dated August 31st. Now, Koi Banks is a separate company. It's a leading Latin American asset tokenization and blockchain financial infrastructure company. But anyway, this announcement was August 31st, 2021. If we take a look at when when El Salvador launched, I think this was when they declared Bitcoin as legal tender, and when they launched the Chivo wallet. It launched on September 7th. That's just 8 days after this announcement. So it's very, very unlikely that they were able to build a wallet on Algorand using Koi Banks and using Algorand in just 8 days after making the partnership. So this is something that shows there's something a little bit fishy. The other thing that's a little bit fishy is when you dig into it, it turns out that Algorand is a leading investor in Koi Banks. And so this looks very much like some of these other crypto systems where they're basically funding themselves to pretend to make it look like they have business when they really don't. And in many cases, you have the same actors controlling both companies. When you dig into it a little bit deeper as well, it looks like whatever's being built on Algorand, if this is in fact true, is something not having to do with money, but having to do with official records, allowing official records to be hosted on the blockchain. And it's very unclear to me how you would interact, how you would connect Algorand to Bitcoin. It makes much more sense that they're using Lightning. And again, you can attach any system to Bitcoin because it's permissionless. But it looks to me like Algorand is actually, if they're doing anything, they're providing some sort of record hosting service on the Algorand blockchain rather than Bitcoin itself. As I said, when you really dig into this, you find a bunch of articles that all refer to each other and are probably fake. But let's be really generous and assume that it's all true, that Algorand is the foundation of the Chivo Bitcoin wallet in El Salvador. Even if it's true, who cares? Did El Salvador declare ALGO to be legal tender? No, they did not. That was actually Bitcoin. And as I said before, anyone can connect to the Bitcoin network and the Lightning network. You can connect Algorand theoretically, or some part of it, make it interact with the Bitcoin network or the Lightning network. This is what it means for something to be open and permissionless. Anyone can connect to Bitcoin or the Lightning network. PayPal connects to the Bitcoin network or the Lightning network when they allow you to withdraw your BTC from them. Does that mean you should buy PayPal stock? Of course not. They're just connecting to the network. And what you really want to actually own is the native token of the Bitcoin network, which is something called Bitcoin, BTC, not some garbage like ALGO. And the fact, even if this is true, all those development contracts, presumably from the El Salvador government and other Central and South American governments, these infrastructure build-out contracts don't seem to have helped Algorand adoption at all, as we're going to see. And another thing to remember, if you're a holder of these tokens, even if the parent company does really well and gets some big juicy infrastructure contracts, guess what? ALGO These are just tokens. They're not equity in the company. They're not shares. They do not give you ownership in the parent company in Algorand or in the foundation. They do not give you a pro rata share of earnings or dividends. Again, these are not shares. This is not equity. And as such, they do not give you upside in Algorand's parent's company stock price. That's where the VCs and Algorand insiders, that new CFO, are going to make their money, and you're going to be left holding these worthless tokens. You're one of the bag holders that has been monetized to help fund this company. And when you take a look at the chart, Algorand is clearly a failed pump and dump. The price action confirms this. This is ALGO denominated in US dollars. It's had 2 peaks and has now crashed back down to the lows. And what's really telling is when you look at Algorand in Bitcoin terms, continues to make lower lows and lower highs. And this is what most charts of anything, really any asset, crypto or otherwise, most charts against Bitcoin look like this, where Bitcoin, if Bitcoin is appreciating, the chart goes down here. If Algo is appreciating, the chart goes up. And we can see that it's Algo has been collapsing for a very long time, almost since the beginning, against Bitcoin. What are the conclusions here? Algorand is obviously not the next Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the next Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the next Bitcoin. And I want you to repeat this to yourself. Don't overcomplicate things. What I've been doing while all these people were looking for the next Bitcoin is I've been dollar cost averaging into BTC and hodling. And I'll still be doing that when someone brings me the next Bitcoin killer in 1 year from now, in 5 years from now, hopefully in 10 or 20 years from now. As we've seen with that chart, all assets trend downwards towards zero against Bitcoin, just like Algorand has done. And Algorand is just another software company that's issued unregistered securities. And as such, even though it's already crashed, it could still get into a lot of trouble with the SEC, especially the fact that they're based in Boston. It's not a very long trip that Gary Gensler has to make from Washington, D.C. to pay them a visit. If you found this video helpful, be sure to hit that subscribe and like button. Hit the notification bell if you want to be notified when I publish my next video. And let me know your questions and comments in the comment section below. Thanks all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.